Welcome to another NG Minute, guys. This is the highlights and lowlights of the wrestling week. And right now, I know I haven't done this in a while, but we're going to talk about TNA. Now, the opener actually started off pretty strong. Having MVP coming out there and doing his little promo was pretty cool. And the fact that Magnus came out saying it, well, first, say he was going to do an executive decision, it kind of made me feel like finally he's starting to act like a boss. But the one thing that really makes me sad is the fact that somehow all these wrestling shows and now TNA is somewhat copying the WWE. It's a given. And now Abyss is somewhat of a bodyguard that's hired by Magnus. I really, it kind of bothers me to see heels hired by other heels as bodyguard, especially if they're a monster heel. The monster heel should be a monster all on its own and not have to be a bodyguard, have to be dependent on another heel in order to be relevant. And honestly, I've never been a fan of Magnus's mic work. There is nothing interesting about anything that he has to say. He has no personality at all when he's on the mic. So honestly, it really feels like that Abyss is the only thing that's making him interesting, in my humble opinion. But that's not the main thing that bothers me. There's two things that bother me about this opener. Let's talk about the first one. The first one is Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was the kind of character that took on all comers, that really didn't complain about any odds that was stacked against him. But the funny thing that I saw about this was the fact that he complained about a triple threat match. He took on last week, if I can remember, my memory can be a little bit fuzzy, but if I can remember really, really closely, he took on all three members of the Bromance. He just said he took all of them. I mean, he took on two of the tag team members, and then he took on Zima. And I'm like, with no problem, no complaints. So now you're complaining about taking on Magnus and Abyss, one of the biggest challenges in your career, something that you would literally step up to the challenge for, and you're complaining about it. Did he go heel without my knowing? I'm sorry, did I miss the memo here? Did Samoa Joe now heel and no longer face? Or in between? I really couldn't tell what Samoa Joe was. He was just Samoa Joe. But now we got EY all of a sudden trying to make himself relevant and enter in the Fatal 4-Way, trying to make the whole thing a Fatal 4-Way by getting himself involved to protect them from Abyss. All in the end for him to actually try to validate himself that he deserves to have a title match when the main reason why he's there is to try to get Abyss away from Joe to give him a fair fight. What is it gonna be, EY? Do you really want to be in a match and just using Abyss as a card, or using Abyss as a way to actually get in this match to be a part of Fatal 4-Way? Or are you really trying to protect Samoa Joe and have him have a fair fight? And then here's the second thing that kind of bugs me about this opener. You got MVP pretty much getting in the face of every wrestler that possibly gets in his face, and now afraid to step up to the plate and take matters in his own hands if he has to, which means get physical. And you're literally watching Samoa Joe and EY try to pretty much go at it in the ring, and you're not breaking them up. You order security to go out there. Yeah, dude, you're talking about being hands on and you're calling security. I don't know. For some reason, I am starting to believe that they're going to try to make MVP look like a very sour boss, and they're going to somehow bring Dixie back, and I'm hoping they don't. Because, in my humble opinion, MVP is the most entertaining guy in TNA right now. He actually kind of livened it up a bit and kind of made the storylines interesting. So I'm hoping they don't get rid of him, and I'm hoping they actually keep him around for a while. One of the most epic fails that I think that any wrestling company could ever do is putting their heels on Twitter. I'm sorry. I can't take Bully Ray seriously when he has a Twitter account and talking about he's like the Twitter machine. No. Please stop putting your heels on Twitter. How can you take a guy that's supposed to be a bad guy seriously if he's on Twitter? It makes no sense. It makes him look stupid. But that's just me. Two segments that were somewhat interesting. The Hunt for Willow. Maybe it's something that I missed last week because I didn't have a chance to watch all of it, but I actually was pretty entertained by watching The Hunt for Willow. Rockstar Spud is going to be forever my favorite British heel on TNA. Well, no, him and Magnus are like two Brits. But either or, he's one of my favorites. He actually does make that segment pretty fun. I don't care much for EC3. I really don't care for him at all. But I will say that being, I guess they're probably in the backwoods of Florida. I don't know. But I really found that whole segment pretty funny. But one segment that I really felt was bland, and I like vanilla, so I'm not even going to insult that flavor. I guess the whole the, the segment between Velvet Sky and Angelina Love, I guess it's supposed to be somewhat interesting and intriguing because everybody really wants the beautiful people to get back together and actually make the knockouts division interesting again. But good grief, these two lack the most personality and charisma of any knockout I've ever heard. And let's be real, there's not really a lot of charisma as well as personality going on in the knockouts right now. I'd rather be locked out than listening to that. But besides all that, that was a very bland segment, very ridiculous and pointless, and you really don't even seem intrigued in it at all. Like, they really didn't even hype it up. Good grief, those two really need some help with mic work and personality. Okay, wrapping up this whole TNA highlight from this NG minute. My highlight of the night personally happens to be the moment between Bully Ray and Bobby Roode. My goodness, I mean that is the most entertainment and the most. I mean, you literally just feel the intensity watching that moment, watching that segment right there, watching those just go back and forth. I love that. I really do. I guess Bully Ray is now a face. I gotta go back and watch some footage because I really did miss the ball on some of these things. But honestly, I absolutely loved that moment when they were in the ring. Bobby Roode has always been intense on the mic, but with him being a heel versus one of the best heels in the business, in my personal opinion, it's great to see them go at it. I like two heels being at odds. It brings so much flavor, so much new. I guess I want a newness, if that's a way of saying it. It brings something new, so much flavor, so much edge to a promo to see two heels go at it. Well, now Bully Ray's a face, but I still consider him a heel. But honestly, guys, I loved it. I really loved that moment. Even though it was short and brief and to the point, I loved it. That's my personal highlight of TNA. Now that is wrapped up, let's get started talking about SmackDown. Okay, guys, honestly, they're trying their best to actually put all the feuds together on SmackDown, which, I mean, it's something that's supposed to do. It kind of makes sense since we're like about a week away from WrestleMania. But it just didn't feel like that. I mean, it didn't feel like the countdown to WrestleMania. It just didn't feel that way at all. Sure, we had a very overly drawn out long vignette of John Cena and the Wyatt family, which I think was ridiculous. It should have been just short and sweet. But the match between Bray Wyatt and Big Show wasn't as epic as I thought it would be. But it wasn't a bad match, and it ended actually pretty well. They're kind of trying to gather some hype around the whole Divas Invitational. Just something I'm excited about because honestly, seeing the Bella Twins versus each other as well as the Funkadactyls versus each other is something I'm kind of interested in to see how it will all pan out during the Invitational. Whether or not the claws will come out, whether or not they'll go single. I'm curious to see what's going to happen from there. But as you can see, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to try to get through this as best I can. And despite all that, with the whole intro with Batista, I didn't really care. I guess because after you've seen the man rip his pants, which is something they did not acknowledge, and of course they're not going to acknowledge it. After you've seen him rip his pants live on TV, it's kind of difficult to take him seriously after that. Just saying. And as for Triple H having him versus Sheamus in a match, okay, yeah, it really felt like kind of a bland SmackDown. Like, it didn't feel like the road to WrestleMania to me. The matches were entertaining, don't get me wrong, but then there was just some of the things that were just irrelevant to me, just like the whole Santino and Emma friends with Benny's thing. And honestly, can they really stop doing this to Emma? Emma is a great competitor, a great fighter. She had one of the best feuds I've ever seen on NXT. Her versus Paige, and honestly, that's one of the best feuds I have seen in a very long time. Can they stop making her into some kind of girlfriend for Santino? Please, I just want to move on from this. And it was irrelevant because they're not gonna. Santino's not gonna do anything except for being in the Andre the Giant 30-man battle royal, and Emma's gonna be an invitational. So regardless, I think she'll be an invitational. Either or, it's gonna. She's good. I hope she's in it. But either or, no, it was irrelevant. It's something that should have happened after WrestleMania. And they need to actually start getting people interested in watching WrestleMania 30 because SmackDown is not doing as good as a job as Raw. But honestly, guys, my overall thoughts of SmackDown is this: it didn't feel like the road to WrestleMania to me. The matches were indeed entertaining. Some of the segments were okay. The vignette between the vignette of Bray Wyatt and John Cena went way too long, but it ended on a really good note with the Big Show versus Bray Wyatt. So I have to say it wasn't bad, but it was somewhat bland, somewhat mediocre. Nothing really special about it. But guys, I want to hear your overall thoughts of SmackDown as well as TNA. Leave a comment in the comment section below and send me a video response on what you think about both shows. It's Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.